Dale Didway, who is standing by in our green room. We are recording and we are streaming to all kinds of places, and the chat room is certainly waiting. So let's count down to Studio 9. Welcome or welcome back, as the case may be, to pjnet.tv. I am your host, Coach Prasic. Behind me, you see the cover of Dugout Devotions 2. Over here, you see the wonderful animation of Dale Didway himself, the author of said book. And we, through the magic of the internet and some fancy software, there's Dale himself. And Dale, it is good to be here. You always find a classy. You say cheesy, I say classy.
Where's my fireplace?
Well,
Ben had a nice, cozy fireplace.
Well, I'm going to build a better one, Dale. And if you want to have a fireside chat, the problem is the window is not the right size for books. I'm going to have to actually build two of them. Anyway,
looks good though.
Well, I enjoy. We're getting there, Dale. We're turning it up, and because I take what we do here at PJNet as seriously as you take your writing, and you take it seriously. You go out and interview people. And I'm always amazed at some of the interviews you get, not only the hard to get ones like Tim Tebow, but you also find people that I would not know of, and you actually get them to spend a few minutes with you. But I know it. You get it done, but it can't be that easy.
Well, at times there's a few bones thrown, so that's always a good thing. And thank everybody for being out there. I know everybody's giving their time. And I appreciate that. Time's the most valuable thing we have. Ben Show was able to catch most of that. He's always fun to listen to, fun to talk to.
A walking encyclopedia.
Yeah. Well, I'm sporting some new glasses here tonight, so first time with these
Dale,
on.
I didn't even notice.
Well, I don't expect you to notice that. I just, I like them. So.
Well, tell me about the glasses. Are they? See, I just got some new glasses, prescription, first time in my life.
Well, here's these. Yeah.
Are they progressive lenses?
I don't know. There's the old ones.
The old one, the old look, the new look. But are they progressive lens, or are they little like bifocals?
No, they're traditional. They're not bifocals. I don't need bifocals yet.
Okay. Do they turn dark in the sunlight?
No, I don't like those.
Okay, mine do. Do they have the anti-polarizing so the screen doesn't reflect on them?
Supposed to. You pay a lot of money for that stuff. Who knows?
Mine work, but I have situated anyway.
I know. But yeah, I say, hey, when are you going to maybe get this to stream on Parler? I know
they don't have an API.
Okay, because I'm going to probably start transitioning more and more towards Parler, and I
tried to sign in tonight after our conversation, and on the desktop it says website not found.
Oh, it's there. I mean, I was just on a little bit ago, but I'm probably going to start doing more there, and a little less on Twitter, just moving on more towards Parler, and especially if President Trump launches his social media platform, then probably jump on board there full force. But anyway, just kind of curious about that. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, I was able to get to Adam Simber, who. I know if you're fans, if you're a fan of the Indians or now who's with Miami, you'll know who he is, but he's not by any means a big name, but he's an effective pitcher. And I did a blog on him several months back. He did, because we had such a good conversation, a long conversation. He was one of the pitchers who uses that submarine style of delivery. And that was one of the chapters I wrote about, how his delivery throws off, hitters, which it does because it's a submarine style, and the ball comes up and then drops. So, but Adam was great to talk to. Again, I think I pointed out in the blog, he was not my original. I call it target. I shouldn't say target, but
Mark.
I was up. Yeah, I was up in the booth and just kind of researching, going through Twitter accounts of baseball players, and I come across Adam. I just go down the roster. And then I just put in their names and blah, blah, blah. And because a lot of time you can tell from their Twitter pages or their whatever.
Who they really are.
Yeah. So, or who they want to portray to be. So his Twitter profile was very attractive. So I said, hey, I'm going to go talk to him. And I went down in the dugout, and he was out on the field warming up. And I just told him, he came in for a second to to get a drink. And I said, hey, I'd like to talk to you about your faith. He goes, hey, give me 10 minutes. I'm almost done. Sure. I love to talk to you. So we had a great conversation, probably 10, 12 minute long. And it was a very good conversation, very open, very, didn't beat around the bush, very direct, transparent in what he told me. And so, and I think Lee talked about this last week, and a lot of athletes talk about this, his identity, because he went through a rough spell in San Diego, and he didn't think he'd ever play baseball again. And he just thought, who am I really? Who am I? If I'm not pitching, if I'm not playing baseball, who is Adam Simber? And so he had to really take inventory, because he said he wasn't living as he should then. Even he wasn't, he wasn't out breaking the law or nothing like that, but he wasn't doing what he said he was supposed to be doing. So he's doing that now. At least he told me then he was. And he got to take inventory and really self-examine himself about what would happen if baseball was taken away from him. Mm-hmm. So, and that's something we all need to look at.
Well, for whether it's baseball or whatever it is you do for a living, there is a tendency to identify with that. For example, and I can prove it. If you meet somebody and you don't know them, you're going to go through what's your name, blah, blah, blah. What's the first question you ask?
What do you do?
There you go. And it's as if that's who we are.
Yeah, I know. And that's, everybody does that, but men more so identify with jobs and who they are, because that's been passed down from generation to generation. Men are who they are at work, and that's what they.
Well, it also helps you rank them socioeconomically. If they say they're a welder or they say they're a judge, well, we kind of get some kind of grasp of where they, what kind of car
we
they're
form an
driving.
opinion. We form an opinion of them. Yeah.
So what do you tell people when they ask you, what do you do?
I'm asked that a lot, and I just look at them. I said, you really don't want to know what I do, and I just kind of try to avoid it. I really do. I try to avoid it and change the topic a little bit, because it's too complicated sometimes. So I just don't like to get into it. I ask him what really gets them. I've done this quite a bit. So Dale, what do you do? What do you think I do?
I was going to say, turn it around.
Yeah, I guess that's training I've had over the years. I always fire back with a question. Mm-hmm. And I hate that. I hate when people do it to me. But
answer a question with a question.
Yeah, it drives me crazy. But I do that a lot. What do you think? What do I look like I do?
What do you think?
Yeah. So I say,
what kind of answers and
I
how
ask him,
people
do you mean
answered that?
professionally? Do you want me to answer professionally, personally, as a hobby, or just as a general person? So be specific. What do you do?
Well, our identity is so tied up in our profession. Okay. Mm-hmm. I figured this out in my early 20s. I would be interviewing a prospective employee. And of course, they've got a lot of rehearsed stuff. They've got a resume there. But here's the revealing question I would ask. Okay, I see you do this, this, and this. What do you do when you're not doing that? Watch TV. Or you'd be surprised some of the pale answers you get. But some people will say, well, I volunteer at the such and such, or I'm an outdoorsman, or I do woodworking. In other words, do they have a life outside of work? Now, as an employer, oddly enough, I thought that was important.
Yeah, it is. It is. And when my youngest son was in high school playing baseball, and there will be some college scouts invited to watch the games, or because our coach he was a scout for Boston, and he knew a lot of folks, so he would sometimes have some college scouts come to the games to watch his boys play to see if there's any prospects to go to college. Mm-hmm. And he would always tell them, he'd tell a couple of them, he'd say, hey, such and such college is going to be here tonight. You might want to arrive at the game a couple hours early. Mm-hmm. You might want to pull in, don't have your radio blaring. Be dressed, have your hat on right, have your hat on straight, don't have it sideways, don't have it backwards. He said, talk to your parents, talk to them. Don't talk at them, talk to your parents, talk to people. And because he says they will be here before you are, and they'll watch how you come in. They'll listen to the music you're playing. They'll watch how you treat people. They'll watch how you treat your family. And it's all that. It's all who you are.
Well, Dale, I'm glad you brought that up because these are signals that the skilled observer does pick up on. Here's the problem. He was having to tell them this.
Well, a couple of them, he was just kind of prepping them, because they're young kids, they're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. He would just tell them that, hey, it's a good lesson. It's a good habit to get into because you never know who's going to be there. So you might want to do this. You might want to start coming to the games earlier. Start coming to the games ready. Hustle. There was one great example of this, and this is when my youngest son, we were out in Baltimore. He was invited to the Cal Ripken camp, and it's kind of it's kind of a lousy experience overall. But it was a big mix-up, and where we were supposed to be, it's before cell phones and all stuff like that. So we went on directions. We went to the place and there was nobody there. Right? We drove 8 hours. We finally, after all day Sunday of driving to phone calls, we finally find the place, right? And we sign in. We get there really late. We're supposed to have been there earlier in the day. I get there late, and we kind of walk up at the registration and there's a nice young lady talking to us about registering, and she says, "Oh, so you guys are just not getting here?" And I kind of, I wanted to jump down their throat, but I kind of, laid back and held this piece of paper. I said, "Where would you have gone if you saw this paper?"
There you go.
And she says, "Oh my goodness, did you?" I said, "Yes. We've been traveling all over Maryland trying to find this place." And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry." I said, "It's okay. We're here now." She goes, "Is there anything we can do?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Have Cal Ripken." I said, "Have Cal Ripken come by and talk to me." Because I was kidding, right? And she says, "He's my dad, and he'll be here." That's okay. So, had I been a brute, and I probably wouldn't have got that response. But so lo and behold, on that Friday, Cal Ripken comes over. He says, "Hey, I'm Cal Ripken." I said, "Yeah, I'm Dale. How you doing?" And he says, "I understand you guys had some." I said, "Well, it all worked out, but it was kind of a lot of miscommunication there." And he goes, "Hey, I'm sorry." I said, "Hey, it's okay, man. It all worked out." And he said, "How's the camp experience been?" And I was not pleased at all during the week because I would watch young men walk onto the diamond. Oh. I would watch them with their shirt tail out. I would watch them with their hats on backwards. Ooh. And everything we've been taught just the opposite, right? And I told him that. He says, "How's it been?" I said, and by that time there was a group of young men, they're 13, 12, walking, going down the field. I says, "What do you see out there?" And he goes, "I see young men walking on a ball field." I said, "Exactly." I said, "It's been that way all week." And he said, "I'm sorry. I don't stand for that." I said, I know that. I've watched your career. I know that. But I said, you need to tighten your camp up a little bit. And he walked down there and he got the guides or whatever I call them. And they got a good butt chewing. And he said he was embarrassed and stuff like that. And he apologized. And he said, "Well, you'll get a refund." I said, "I don't want a refund." I said, just sign a ball for my boy. So, but now I got to talk to Cal about, how lackadaisical his camp was run with his name on it.
Well, Dale, I tell you, I'm proud of you. You did more coaching in that 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. The value that you imparted to those young men was worth as much as they learned all week.
My son was like one of there was like 2 or 3 kids that would run on the field because they were taught that way. And here's the other boys walking their shirts out and their hats on backwards. I can't stand a baseball player wears his hat on backwards. So, that's fine. It's just a personal thing. So, but anyway.
Well, it reveals character, though, Dale. I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It tells me that you take it seriously. And I could go on a rant right now. I could go on a real preach, and I'm not going to because I've done it before. But if you want to be taken seriously, you need to take things seriously first, yourself.
Well, our high school coach said, if you ever saw our boys as players with the hat on backwards, even out at a restaurant, somewhere. He said, if I see that hat on backwards, he said, do not bother coming back to this team. You're done.
Mm-hmm.
As simple as that. Wearing your hat on backwards. And he says it won't happen. And he's now a scout for the Boston Red Sox. So Tim's a good friend of mine, and he lives real close to us. And so he looks for that. He watches that stuff too. If he's going to go scout a college kid for the Red Sox, he's like, I'm watching him. I'm watching when he goes to the bathroom. I'm watching him for 3 hours. I'm watching that boy, see how he treats people.
Well, and
so
look for courtesy.
He said that, you know, they can pitch. He said that if they're at that level, they can pitch. He says we're going to watch their character and watch who they are. So anyway,
I hope y'all are listening out there. What you're picking up worth more than the Golden Fort Knox. Young men,
I think the gold though.
Yeah. Well, at your age, yeah. How much talent does it take to be on time, Dill?
You know, not a lot of talent at all. You just got to dodge some circumstances. I mean, if you leave and you're early, that's a great thing. There have been circumstances that, you know, you can't forecast a train being on the track, or you can't forecast if a truck is lost a load or something like that. So more than likely that won't happen. But there have been times when but things out of your control.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Let's take that to the next level. If you are in your route, you cross a railroad track, it's only a matter of time before a train will be there. So why don't you leave 20 minutes early, or arrive 20 minutes early? Yeah. And by the way, I use this time to meditate, to pray, to just kind of take in and relax, take a deep breath. Yeah. Well, there are benefits to being early, and there are detriments to always being under the gun. I see people coming in huffing and puffing, their hair's still wet. It's folks, that is no way to live.
Yeah. Most of the time I'm early, my boys are early, but there have been a few times when, again, I couldn't control it.
Well, things happen. I walked out, my tire was flat, so I had time to change it.
That's happened to me.
And I was still on time.
Yeah. So things like it, but most of the time you should be on time, be early. And
let me ask you a personal question. How much gas is in your tank right now in your automobile?
Now, I drove 3 hours. I drove 6 hours a day. Barely made it back in time. Before I got home, I threw in about 3/4 of gas when I got home.
All right. Well, here's the question. I want everybody to ask yourself that question. How much gas is in my tank right now? Mm-hmm. Okay. I can tell you, if you ask me, 99.9% of the time, the answer will be full. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I don't let it get below 3/4. Okay. And someone asked me, I was talking to a millennial, and they said, why do you do that? I said, well, I have a daughter that lives in Ohio. Mm-hmm. And if that daughter rings that phone and says, Daddy, I need you, I don't want to say, yeah, I'll call you right after that. But I don't want to say, honey, hang on, I'll be underway just as soon as I get some gas.
Right, I am.
Be prepared, folks. Be prepared. It doesn't cost any more to keep.
We'll go take care of her.
I know.
How's she doing?
She just turned 23.
Yeah, I saw that. She's a hoot.
She's doing the things that I did at 23, and I wasn't particularly proud of. Or I'm not now. I was proud of them then, but
she's a smart girl. I like her.
I love her, but
but
she got the pull-up bar, so I'm doing pull-ups. You know how many I can do?
3.
1.
Okay.
1, but I do them. But I'm going to do it 10 times a day. So what I do is I pull up, as far as I can. Then I do negatives on the way down, trying to build. I'll build up. It takes time, folks. You don't get immediate results.
No,
sorry.
Sorry. But the chat with Adam was good. We talked about who he is off the field, on the field. There's a lot of things people can do. If they're struggling with their identity, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It means you're going through a funk. And do something, be remembered. People, there's a guy who, a good friend of ours who passed away unexpectedly about 2 years ago. And everybody remembered the same thing about him. He always did one thing after church that everybody always remembered him by. So, you can do things to form your identity. I mean, you can volunteer at places, and you can, hang out with the right crowd. That's a big one right there. Who you are, who you associate with, and who you serve. And if you can serve God, you don't have to be thought of as this person who's always yelling at you and screaming at you. But you can be meek and mild, and you can be humble, and you can be of service. A lot of things you do for service. You could work a baseball camp, just like my son attended. You could volunteer at a hospice unit, and don't just go one time. I mean, go volunteer. Make that a part of you, who you are.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
We do that. So
I was reading your blog, and there's a lot of good points in there, but a thought came to my mind that was not even in the blog whatsoever, but it has to do with it's legacy.
Yeah.
The day's going to come, folks, and I'm going to preach at you again. I've said this before. I'm going to be in a box in front of a podium at a church, and they're going to say things about me. What do you want them to say? Mm-hmm. What do you want them to say? Oh, gosh, he had a great job, and he worked late at night. He forsook everything and was a tremendous success at his job. I hadn't heard that yet at a funeral. Have you? I've heard what they give. Mm-hmm. That he was a faithful husband. He was a faithful father. And you mentioned these things in your blog, and that's what triggered my mind to think of this. When your son or daughter has a ball game and you're at the office, that says who you are, and it also says who you aren't.
Right. And most of the time, I think I attended probably 97% of my son's. There was a couple of times, work's important. It's not the end all, but there were a few times when I was on. But it was
on
a business trip.
Uncharacteristic of you.
Right. It's very rare that happened.
Right.
So, like I said, 97% of the time I was there, I can remember, my dad, every time I looked up at a baseball, basketball, football game, I knew where he was. I knew his spot and who was there. And same thing with my kids. I was always there. They knew I was there. And that stuff's important. It don't have to play ball. It can be whatever. It can be in a play. And if you don't have kids, some people don't have kids or a family of their own, you can still set the example for your friends.
Go volunteer at your favorite sport. Most schools will allow you. It may take a little screening, but
you can volunteer, pick up trash after the game.
Yeah. Volunteer. They're always needing volunteers. That. Always.
We ran the concession stand. That's a chore. If you could run a concession stand at a high school football, you can do anything. And I've said that during interviews. I said, hey, I've run a concession stand for years, and by golly, I want to see you do that.
Right. Because at halftime, the referees come by, and get their free.
They get the it's all set waiting on them, and the press box is waiting on them.
Oh, we had to, Well, I wouldn't go right away because I would anyway. Let's not go.
Yeah, I know.
But, Dell, while you think about your podcast, I want to bring up the fact that I listen to Dell's podcast every Saturday, usually on my way home from work, and. Folks, Dell's got the tones, okay, the golden tones. He really does, but that's not the point. If Dell talked through his nose, what he's saying is really worth hearing. And this week, I just get blessed all the time. And so put in a plug for your podcast. There's not a link to it at DellDidway.com.
I need to. You need to call me tomorrow and remind me of that. I keep forgetting to do that.
Yeah, but when you send me that book cover that I asked for,
I'll do it tomorrow.
Put the link on your website to the podcast.
But I think I'm going to do a couple of changes on that. I had somebody listens to who's a podcast guru.
Oh yeah,
who called me. They said, the person who is a real good friend of mine, and she said, hey, what you're saying is good stuff. She said. You need to shorten it up. 9 minutes.
No.
I'm just, so I'm going to look at maybe going to maybe 12, 10, 12 minutes. And she said, speed it up a little bit. So I'm going to try. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to play around. I'm going to play around a little bit.
Yeah, Dell, your delivery is excellent. Now, I get the 9 minute thing. She's referring to the attention span. The reason I object is I have a 40-minute drive.
I get you.
And so when I start it, I like it. I can't change the channel while I'm driving.
Well, she also said less banter. Get to my point. I was like, all right. Okay, well, we'll see. Well, man, she's the first. She said I listen to podcasts. I consume them. She said I listen to them all the time. So we'll see. I said I'm just starting out. So she said there's just some suggestions. So I'm gonna maybe. Not completely,
experiment
but try a couple of them. Huh?
Yeah, experiment with some.
Yeah,
of
a little bit.
The 9 minute thing, I get that. I mean,
I can probably shorten it down to 12, maybe 12, 11, 12. It won't hurt anything.
Yeah.
And we'll just see. I'll play around with it.
The way that you pause between your statements.
Well,
just like
I'm just belching.
Well, yeah, but
I'm trying not to belch.
folks, I know these things because I actually examine the audio afterwards. And Dell has a speaking style where he makes a, brief sentence. He takes a breath. He makes and unlike me that goes off in 100 directions.
Who was the master at that? I'm not emulating, but I've learned from listening to Rush Limbaugh. Rush did that a lot. Mm-hmm. He would have that dramatic pause, but he would also do this. He'd also pound the desk. I'm not going to do that.
No.
But Rush could get away with that.
Well, if that boom is attached to the desk that you would pound on, that would not be a good idea. I don't know if you have a shock mount on there or not.
I do.
You do. Well, I know it. I should have known because you just pounded on your desk. And if it didn't have a shock mount, it would have felt like thunder out here. Yeah. People. I had somebody call or contact me asking for audio advice for a podcast. Mm-hmm. And it's funny. I wrote about a 2-page dialogue, on things to avoid, things to look for, and a lot of it gets down to how much money do you want to spend, or how do you have to spend. But it surprises me how little thought goes into a lot of the stuff we see out there, because audio is probably the Achilles heel of most things that you see. Selfie, video. The audio is going to be very compromised.
Right.
And your message can get compromised because people. Well, audio is a good thing. Okay.
Right. Well, thanks. I'm gonna experiment a little bit and try to get some bigger platforms and talk to a couple of sponsors. So I'd like to get that. So we'll see what happens.
I had an idea. I could decorate our set with Taco Bell tacos.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I'm getting good at that.
Hey, I'm gonna start going. I'm going to Cleveland this weekend. Going to the Indians game and for the weekend, and I'll maybe. They don't have the Skyline chili like Cincinnati does, but they do a good spread for us up there in Cleveland. So they got some really good chili dogs. So,
well, some venues are more I don't want to say press friendly, but the hospitality. There's a big difference in hospitality. Some of them, here's your room, bye.
Pittsburgh Steelers or Pittsburgh Pirates is phenomenal. They take care of you. Mm-hmm. Indianapolis 500 is the best I've ever been. And we can go on down the list and who's good and who's bad. I won't say who's bad.
Well, it's the little things, the details.
Yeah. Like example of the 500. I mean, I think the one picture's up there of all the ladies I'm standing with in the racing gear. Right. They're taking care of you. They're bringing you things. You were there in the up in the media center, and if you need something, you either have a little push a button and they come to you. What can I get you? Because we're working. And they take care of you there.
I used to be a DJ. I'd go to these parties and DJ the event, and I would get hired, and that's kind of how I helped pay my way through college. I did something unique. I worked and earned my own money and pay. Anyway, I worked so many events, and you're there, and you're supposed to kind of stay in the background, with all your gear. I never will forget this one time. It was a huge event at the country club, and all the highfalutin people are there.
Right.
And this was the wife of a judge.
Okay.
And during the event, she came to me and said, you've been working all night. How about I bring you a sandwich and a cold drink?
Right.
I thought, that is testimony to character, folks. When's the last time that you had it on your radar that there are people serving you that might could use a little pick me up? And I was hungry, I was thirsty, I was hot, I was and she was so nice to me, and it was that was little things like that make big difference, and we need to do that.
But most of them do take care of it. There's some that could use some. I mean, we don't sound like a diva or anything like that, but there's some places that really take care of you, and you like going to those places. I like going to. I mean, Pittsburgh's a little further drive, but they really make you feel good there. Mm-hmm. And they make you feel, they got a guy greeting you when you walk in. Hey, good Dell, and they know who you are. Great to have you. Come on up. Here's your, great, thank you. And what can we get for you? All right. So, and then you go to some other places that that you're lucky to get in the door. So.
Well, and it's a dog-eat-dog world. There's other members of the press there, all competing for the best place.
Most sports writers help each other. They're not like the news with they're going to cut your throat. Sports writers are a different breed. They will help you. You're up there and you say, who made that pass, or who caught that. Oh, okay, so okay, great, thank you. Because we just help each other. If it was news, it'd be different. They'd be out the.
Well, you're fortunate, Dale, because you don't have microphones and you don't have cameras. Now, when you do, and I'll never forget during Judge Roy Moore's election watch, it was at this big place, and the press was just lined up outside, and they were allowed in at 3:00. Well, I got in because I'm not there as the press. I'm there to assist the campaign, and I'm setting up all my gear. And this hostess, says, "I'm sorry, sir, but the gates open at 3 p.m. and you'll have to wait until then." And about that time, his right-hand man, his campaign manager, saw me from across the room, and hey, Mark, and he walked and he threw his arms around me. And this hostess is wondering what's going on here. And I said, well, Rich, I'm glad you showed up because this young lady is advising me that I need to leave until 3 p.m. And he turned to her and said, this is our friend. Whatever he wants, he gets. Make sure of that.
She was just doing her job.
No, she meant no harm. She was literally doing her job. I hold no venom toward her. But
I've been there.
But the press was outside just mad as a hornet, thinking, who is this guy?
Well, that's why when I interviewed Tebow. I mean, you had the big Columbus Dispatch and WBNS. They couldn't get to him, and they saw me interviewing him. And then I was up in the booth later. They were, oh, there's the big shot. I'm like, oh my gosh, really?
Really?
I wanted to say, you couldn't get him?
Yeah. Who? What's my name if I'm such a big shot?
Yeah.
Tell me who I am. Why don't you?
Yeah. So anyway, but no, Adam was a great interview. I enjoyed talking to Adam. I'm going to see him sometime during the season this year. And give him a copy of the book, and we'll get a picture. I'm sure he'll take some time with me again. And that always opens. It's fun because when you give them the book, and I've done this with several players. I say, hey, here's this book. I wrote that. I wrote this devotional about you in here. A lot of them actually remember the interview. They say, oh yeah, you interviewed me. Yeah. I said, well, I wrote a devotional. Oh, no kidding, really? This is great. So a lot of them will do that. Not all of them. A lot of them say, okay, thanks, and they just leave. But most of them are very grateful, and they'll say, hey, let's get a picture. Hey, great, thanks. Or I'll ask, can you tweet this out?
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah.
You're good at the ask. I'm not good at that.
Well, I just say, hey, if it was you, Mark, hey, I know you're a busy guy. If you get a chance, you just do a quick selfie and just tweet it out. That would be that would have a huge impact. And most of them, sure. Yeah, takes them 4 seconds.
Right. Well, and listen, hear what he just said, because, there are things that we can do to help others that really doesn't cost us anything. It only takes a minute.
Right.
Before we went on the air, I asked Dale for a favor, and he said, I'll have it for you in the morning. Well, how much will that cost him? Nothing, but the benefit, we need to be better people, don't we?
Yeah. Today more than ever. Yes.
Yeah. And the good news is that there was a day when that was ordinary and there was nothing outstanding about it. So it may not get noticed. Today, it will get noticed. In fact, I found out the other day, the fair comes to our county, early, late in the year, and they had closed the freak show. You know why? They're not freaks anymore. They're normal.
They're free, as I say, man. You can't tell them apart. So you got. I forget. I was going to say something about politics. I know who's in that freak show.
Well, Dale, quick
the entire cabinet. So anyway,
before we leave, you included an excerpt from your new book, Dugout Devotions 2, which launched 2 weeks ago? Was it?
Last month. No, it was about a month ago.
About a month. Okay.
About a month ago.
Well, you have so many. It's hard. You
we got one coming up. Michelle and I have the next one coming up in July 6th. Heart of a Hoosier. We're looking forward to that. And then we have one in August. So talk to Michelle about that. And I don't want to ask. I hate to ask people for this. I started posting about this. If anybody's read the book, I'd love a review. Those Amazon reviews do mean a lot. I know it's got a long way to go to catch up to Dugout Devotions, which is almost to 400 reviews, which is amazing. So, and getting those first few is the hardest. Once you get 3 or 4 or 5, this seems to pick up speed. So if anybody's
karaoke.
Yeah, and I know some folks get them put in review jail for a while. I know Doug's had that problem. I've had that problem. I've had to go to my wife's account because you're friends with a person. So Amazon won't let you post a review. But if you do, if you can, post a review. If you want me to write it for you, I'll do that. But those are important to writers and to authors and to Amazon, because if you get up to a certain amount, then they'll start doing ads for you and things like that. So reviews are, just the beast.
All right. Well, Dugout Devotions 2, you can find it wherever books are sold, I think is the way we say that now. And you will find Del Didway here, right there, every week. This time, Tuesday night, about 9:30. And we always have a good time sharing. Del, thank you for your faithfulness in sharing with us. And thank you for your ministry and bringing stories of inspiration from big names and maybe names you hadn't heard of. In the ball field and in the dugouts and so forth. And we appreciate you, brother. We really do.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for being out there. Sorry we went so long, but Coach got wound up.
Got wound up. Yeah, I went off. Well, folks, there you see, well, actually you don't, but you will. You will see there is the view atop, right up there. The studio, you see laptop number 1, monitor number 1, monitor number 2, monitor number 3. You can't see the fourth monitor. It's on the back wall. You see this controls the video and the audio. This controls the lighting. This is a keyboard. And this is the most important piece. It controls the air conditioning. There's the other laptop. Microphone, the whole works, folks. And it's going to get even better. Yeah, we've got more. And, okay. It has been a wonderful night. I actually am going to have to partially disassemble the studio tonight. I have a photo shoot, video shoot tomorrow, and got some help on the not new camera, but anyways, everything is so good. I wish call me, man, call me. Let me tell you all the exciting things that are happening, because so many of them right now you cannot see right now. But folks, I could not be more excited about the PJNet future than I am right now. And you're a part of that. You say, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. If you are in our chat room, you are a part of this. If you are watching this, you are a part of this. And you know what? This is a team that we can take as many players as want to be on this team, and we would love to have you join the PJNet team. You say, well, what do I have to do? Well, don't know. But here's what we do. We provide a platform for everyday Christians to share their walk with Christ. Give that a little thought, would you? We'd love to have you on board. It's more than a team, it's family. Okay. Now, before I leave, I customarily do ask you to do two things, or one thing really. Ask yourself two questions. Here they are. First one, what is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And second is, how long ago was that? See where I'm going with this? I hope none of us will be satisfied with either answer.